And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. If you're listening on 103.1 SuperTalk Gulf Coast, we really appreciate you tuning in. Some of you may be listening on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, or maybe listening later on YouTube or Facebook or your favorite podcast. However you choose to pay attention to this show, we appreciate you listening and hope you're enjoying the celebrations that we are involved in every single day. I want to start with a quote that's going to bring me back to Hurricane Katrina, and this is sort of a good lead-in for our first guest today. The quote is this: "If we don't care about our past, we cannot hope for the future. I care desperately about saving old buildings." And actually, that was Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. It's pretty interesting that that's always been part of the conversation in America. One of the tragedies of Hurricane Katrina was that it wiped away so much of our history. And as a member of the Governor's Commission on Recovery, Rebuilding, and Renewal, I was a vice chairman of the effort. Tourism fit under the area that I was responsible for developing a plan for recovery for that commission. I had the opportunity to work closely with Andreas Dwani. Andreas was hired by the governor and our commission to come in and lead what we call charrettes, which are essentially a pretty structured brainstorming session that involved all the coast communities simultaneously. It's really one of the largest charrettes ever attempted in the history of architecture. And we had architects and planners that came in here from all over the world. We had actually two people from the Prince of Wales Foundation that joined us. Andreas is a famed architect and planner who wrote the book on new urbanism. He was an instructor at the University of Miami. He's very successful, does work all over the world. And we were fortunate to have him here. And to give you a sense of the way he thought about things, here are just a couple of quotes that I want to share with you. The first one is this: "The problem is that one cannot easily build Charleston anymore because it is against the law. Similarly, Boston's Beacon Hill, Nantucket, Santa Fe, Carmel, all of these well-known places, many of which have become tourist destinations, exist in direct violation of current zoning ordinances." I found that's pretty interesting. Here's another one from Andreas. "Even the classic American Main Street with its mixed-use buildings right up against the sidewalk is now illegal in most municipalities. Somewhere along the way, through a series of small and well-intentioned steps, traditional towns became a crime in America." He always had a terrific way with words. And one last one from Andreas. "There's currently more sprawl covering American soil than was ever intended by its inventors. While there are some people who truly enjoy living in this environment, there are many others who would prefer to walk to school, bicycle to work, or simply spend less time in their car." And again, that's Andreas Dwani. I was significantly impacted by Andreas and a guy by the name of Ben Brown, who worked very closely with Andreas and ran a company or was involved in an organization called Placemakers. They went into communities helping with zoning regulations and whatever to encourage mixed-use development. You hear me talk about mixed-use all the time, where you may have residential up above and then commercial below. It could be a restaurant or whatever. You're seeing mixed-use community or mixed-use developments crop up all across coastal Mississippi, from Bay St. Louis to Pascagoula. And you've got some pretty significant ones that are in the works. One in Gulfport, for example. There are some in Biloxi that are being talked about. But this is all in an effort to bring back that feel that Andreas was talking about, where there's life downtown again, where people can live, work, and play in a kind of a similar area. And I would say that the pandemic and remote work and all that goes along with that has sort of brought this conversation back to the fold. But what is behind it all, though, is this need to sort of resurrect the historic implications of building and architecture. And in the case of coastal Mississippi, that's one of the tragedies of Katrina, that it wiped away so much history. So the history that's left, it's so important that we keep it and we restore it and we honor it and that we learn from it. You know, as John Andreas said, there was this metamorphosis that occurred along the way, and it wasn't ever intended to be what it became, sprawl. But there's certainly an effort today to resurrect life in our downtowns where people live downtown. And as I often say, live, work, and play in a similar area. But with all that said, I was really thrilled to invite Bill Raymond, who's the executive planner and historical administrator for the city of Biloxi and the Biloxi Visitor Center, to join me here on Coast Vue. Actually, he's a recent winner of a One Coast Award. And certainly I'll honor him for that, because one of the people, you know, if I had to, when we started that at the Sun Herald, the what has become the One Coast Awards, you know, we had pictures of people like Bill in mind, people who are working so hard to try to keep, you know, what's so great about our cities intact. And so anyway, without any further ado, let me just welcome Bill to Coast Vue. How you doing, Bill Raymond?
I'm great, and thank you for having me today.
Good. Are you, so for the YouTube and Facebook audience, I'm assuming that you're sitting in your office at the city.
Yes, and it always looks like this, so I can't make any excuses.
Well, you've got a lot going on. You've really got a cool background. You've been in the city for over 20 years. You've had the opportunity to work in other places, but before we kind of unwrap all that, give us a sense of what it is you do in your current role these days.
Well, as the historic administrator for Biloxi, I help manage our 6 historic districts, which we have most of East Biloxi, and then we also have a historic district in West Biloxi, which is the Edgewater Park subdivision, which was one of the first subdivisions in Biloxi. So I work with property owners, homeowners every day, helping them to be able to restore and to save and to keep that special features of their neighborhood intact, so that they will remain the wonderful places to work and live. In addition to that, I also run the Biloxi Visitor Center, which we play host to about 150,000 people a year through this visitor center. Plus, wow. It's the facility where we rent for local events. When we built this place, and it's about 25,000 square feet, we wanted not only to be a visitor center, but we wanted it to be a center for the community so that the locals had a buy-in here also. So that's why we created this space that you could rent out for weddings and parties and events. And people have really responded really well to that.
Yeah, I know. We actually had the reception for one of my kids there at the visitor center, and it was just terrific. What a great space.
Yeah, and we also have an exhibit here where we can tell the story of Biloxi and the coast, along with the story of its people. So we not only fit, you know, the dates and the times and the people, whatever, we're also telling the story of the Croatians and the French and all of the different people, the African Americans, and how they came together to make this community what it is today.
Yeah, Biloxi's a melting pot. I mean, truly a melting pot, and it's such a rich history with so many different dynamics that are involved in it, and I love telling that story. You know, you heard how I started the show talking about some of what I learned from Andreas Dwani and the influences he had on so many of us after Hurricane Katrina. But he's right that serendipity, you know, just serendipity without good codes and zoning in place can really kind of just remake a city to something you don't want it to be. That this sense of place that we all know as it relates to Biloxi is often preserved in complex zoning and building requirements. It's not sexy, but it's the key to success, isn't it?
It is. Now, and go back to the 70s, and you can see where the codes and the way the codes are written, they really did promote that sprawl and all of these big, huge parking lots and parking requirements. And, you know, and it just really made what we all came to know, oh, we don't like that. So as the 90s, 2000s, Katrina come along, and we started looking at that, new urbanism became more, really became the standard across the country. Now, was there some pushback against that? Oh yeah, you know, there was traditional people that had been working in the 70s and 80s, and you know, that model always worked for them. So I think it was great that it gave us an opportunity to go back and say, well, maybe what we're doing wasn't working right. Let's try something else. And we have. And I think you can see the fruit of that now with much as you talked earlier about mixed use, and I think that that's really been the success for a lot of communities around the state. Now I can see a lot of success on the coast. Look at what's going on in Pascagoula right now. There is a ton of housing in Biloxi. We have, who would ever thought the old Borden's milk plant that became Josette's would now be 26 apartments that will be coming online in the next 2 months. I mean, it's exciting to see. And if we go back pre-Katrina, the code probably wouldn't have let us do any of that.
No, it wouldn't. It was interesting. Andreas preached this so much. It was hard, I think, it was hard in the aftermath of Katrina because there was so much pain and misery and emotional distress. It's hard to think about transformative ideas in the midst of all that, because what people really wanted to get back was what they lost, and that's really kind of all they could think about. I totally got that. It's taken time to kind of adopt some of this thinking. But look, when we come back, Bill, we're going to continue this conversation and just talk about what it takes to sort of preserve the sense of place and the opportunities for Biloxi going forward in this space. We'll see you after this break.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
It's 2021 and J. Allen Toyota still has a lifetime warranty on all new Toyotas. They all come with Toyota Care. We've got a great rental department. We've got great used cars. We've got a parts and service department ready to help you. So when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Of outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have Bill Raymond, the Executive Planner and Historical Administrator for the City of Biloxi. He also has oversight over the Biloxi Visitor Center. When we went to break, we were just talking about the evolution of architecture and planning that has occurred over the last 20 or so years, especially since Hurricane Katrina. Communities are really embracing this whole notion of mixed use and historic preservation. And there's one particular example as it relates to the Sweatman House we'll come to in just a second. This is a great example of how when you rally, you can save historic structures, which, man, after Katrina was such an important thing, and so much history was lost all across coastal Mississippi by that storm. Hey, Bill, one of the conversations that I will never forget is that Andreas Dwani, after the storm, was so concerned with what FEMA's requirements was going to do to places like the Point of Biloxi by having to raise the houses. And the truth is, what has played out in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina was exactly what he expected, that a lot of people would not be able to build back. The ones that would build back would be on stilts. Because of that, because people wouldn't have neighbors that weren't able to build back. And even if they had neighbors, it would change the relationship with neighbors because, you just couldn't walk out on your front porch the way that it was. And he cited that in places like Key West, they built a lot of cinder block homes. And when, for example, Wilma went through, 70% of Key West was underwater. Most people don't even know that. People just, they washed out their houses and cleaned things up and moved on. I think that's an area where I know that when you look at the thing that FEMA cited was insurance claims, that when houses are built up, there are less claims and they're trying to protect the insurance program. I get all of that. But there has to be a factor in there about saving the community. The point never reemerged back to the community it was after Katrina. And that was really a shame, wasn't it?
Oh, it definitely was. I mean, that whole sense of community is gone. I don't know that it could ever be brought back. And the thing is, and I'm not sure how Key West gets away with it, if we allowed people to build back the way they were and say, okay, we're just going to forego insurance on these houses, that means that everybody in the city would be without.
Right, exactly. It would require a different kind of thinking. And I don't know that that's possible, to be honest with you, especially these days, now that we're in this big discussion about the national insurance program, making that more viable financially and so on. But it is a shame, the impact that Katrina had. And because Katrina hit here and not somewhere else, we're the ones who get stuck with the largest storm surge in American history, which as a result of that, unfortunately, meant that the ABFE requirements, essentially where the height of your house has to be relative to future potential storms or relative to sea level, is much higher than a lot of other communities. So in a way, we kind of got punished, but at the same time, our future claims are going to be down as a result of it, won't it, Bill?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the whole idea, is saving property and saving lives. And I understand that. It just, when you look at, especially somebody that works in historic preservation, and you're looking at a structure that may be 2 feet off the ground, and so the next door neighbor has to rebuild, they're going to be 8 feet off the ground. Yeah. It's just hard to make that sense of community and that connection between buildings.
It is. It's very difficult. Hey, so come back to the Sweatman house. Travis Sweatman had a challenge. In fact, he stayed at his house to a key point in the storm and was able to get out just in time. But he lives on the beach in Biloxi in a very important house, and had some very significant damage to it. And it looked like it was going to have to be, taken down. What was the thing that saved that?
Actually, Marcia and Chavez could not decide what to do. The house was leaning forward. It looked like it could fall down at any minute now. But there was a engineer from Texas was actually in town working with the Mississippi Department of Archives and History and the Mississippi Heritage Trust. And I said to him, would you mind, he was working in the area, said, would you mind walking down the street? There's the yellow house, it's leaning forward. The lady that owns it is probably in the front yard, because every day I went by, Marcia was in the front yard. I said, would you go and talk to them and just see what you think? And he went over there, and all he said to him was, you can save this house. We can shore it up right here. We can put supports on it right here, and then get a house mover to get it back on a foundation, and we can save it. And that's all it took. It's just that one person coming to them and saying, you can do this, you can make this happen. And they were able to save an important piece of Biloxi's history. And when you look at it, before the storm, we had about 165 locally designated landmarks. We were down in the low 90s after the storm. So that's 75 or so landmarks that we lost during the hurricane. So any win that we could get was exciting. And that was probably the most important win that we were able to get.
Well,
that is else.
Yeah, going back to as far back as Camille, you look at homes that survived Camille, did not survive Katrina, and places like Pass Christian and Bay St. Louis, homes that survived Camille did not survive Katrina. One of the things that Andreas said in one of his early speeches was, if you have a column still standing, preserve it. Find a way to bring it back. Easier said than done, because what we faced, as you well know, is a lot of homes that were underinsured and homes that have been passed down through generations, and therefore it made it really difficult for the current owner. They never really understood that they were incredibly underinsured, and that is what ultimately led to a series of blank spaces all along the shoreline of Biloxi. But it's good to see. Finally, we're seeing building come back and life come back to the city in some of those more vulnerable areas. But it's taken a while, hasn't it, Bill?
Oh, yeah, we're 16 years down the road, and it's only been to me in the last 5 years that you really saw a boost in construction on the front beach. It wasn't happening, and there was a lot of reasons. It was the height, it's the cost of insurance. There were a lot of different reasons, but I'm glad that some of those barriers are mitigating and people are being able to move forward. And I know of 3 other houses that are getting ready to start on the front beach. I was loan here on this block for at the visitor center for a long time, and now somebody's rebuilding on the Brazier's property. So it's exciting to see.
You started, maybe you didn't start your career, but it seems to me it was very early in your career. You spent a couple of years in Greenville, Mississippi, in the Main Street program. So you've always sort of been in this space. Did it appeal to you? What is it that caused you to stay in this space your whole career?
I believe in, I want to feel at home wherever I live, and I want to know what's unique about it. And when, I look around Biloxi, and there's so many wonderful places, just the view. Go to the top of the lighthouse at sunset and watch that sun going out, or in the morning. I've been there many morning at 5 o'clock when the sun's coming up, or 6 o'clock when the sun's coming up. You don't want to go anywhere else. It is just, you're not going to get that view. You're not going to get that feel anywhere else in the world. And so that's why I love Biloxi, and that's why I'm so passionate about saving what is, I think, unique and special about this city. I don't want it to become Anywhere USA. I want it to be Biloxi and always be Biloxi and have that unique flavor and feel.
Yeah, I talk about it on Coast Vue all the time, that Coast of Mississippi is unique. It's a region that shares a lot of common interests for sure. Mm-hmm. But what makes it so special, what is probably one of the reasons why people come here from all over the United States and love it here and keep coming back, is because we're a collection of communities, each with its own unique sense of place. And you can get on Highway 90 and go from, Waveland all the way over to Pass Christian and Moss Point, and take it all in. And it's unique. Each has its own unique sense of place. Biloxi certainly is that. It takes a lot of work, though, doesn't it? This does not happen by happenstance. You have to be thoughtful. You have to have strategic plans. You have to have commitment from leadership. But it is attainable with a lot of hard work, isn't it?
It definitely is. And, I have a partner in crime, and that's the Architectural and Historical Review Commission. So anything that happened in these local districts really is going before them, and they're my backup. And they're the ones that make sure it happens, and Biloxi keeps this unique feel. Now, do we make people mad because we tell them no, they can't do anything? Yeah, all the time. But we also make people, I had a man complain the other day that he had to come before the commission for a particular issue. And by the end of the conversation, he was saying, well, I'm so glad that we have to do this because I bought in this neighborhood because it is such a wonderful neighborhood. And by going through the commission and regulating what they do, it really is going to maintain that wonderful neighborhood look and feel that the reason I fell in love when we moved here.
Yeah, you have to be willing to say no. You just have to be willing to say no. A great example of that actually is Madison, Mississippi, because in the early days, the mayor of Madison understood that if Walmart wants to come to town, I'm going to be glad to have them, but they're going to do things that we want them to do so that what's built in this great city is in keeping with the kind of Madison we want it to be in the future. And all of the coast cities are beginning to do that really well these days. But Bill Raymond, we're out of time. But look, I'm going to have you back. We should be talking more often about the various things that are going on in the city. We appreciate the work that you're doing in your sphere of influence because it's super important. And congratulations on getting a One Coast Award.
Thanks, Ricky. And you keep it up. I love the fact that you're telling the whole state of Mississippi about the coast and what we are doing down here and how wonderful it is.
You bet, Bill. Take care, man. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. I get knocked down, but I get up again. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Get the scoop on what happened in college football and what to expect in the NFL. Each Sunday on Sports Sunday with Michael Borky. Get the story behind the stats, 8 to 10 a.m. on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and watch the show on supertalk.tv. SuperTalk Mississippi. We're more than just words. This is where the story of your state is told. Proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health, our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's
almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And,
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. I really enjoyed that conversation with Bill Raymond. It's a great opportunity to remember or certainly learn more about what it takes to make the communities of coastal Mississippi tick. Historic preservation, zoning laws, and building codes and all that not sexy stuff. But that's the thing that makes for a great community. Sometimes having to say no makes for a great community because we're working hard across all of the coast communities to build the kind of buildings, to preserve historic buildings in a way that we can really maintain our sense of place, which is incredibly important, of course, after Katrina, because so much of our history and so much of our architecture was wiped away. And this notion of building back in a way that is recognizable and in keeping with what we want our cities to be, that's so cool. And Bill's playing such a great role in that. So now let's shift gears. We're gonna be talking with the Tradition Campus Advancement Officer at William Carey, Jenifer. And listen, for the first time ever, I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name, but let me guess, Freridge.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, but it's an interesting name. Tell me about that name, because I've never seen that spelling before.
I married into it. Definitely takes a while for people to learn how to not only say it but spell it.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. But anyway, I've really been looking forward to chatting with you because not only do you have an important role in the growing presence of William Carey here on the coast at the Tradition Campus, but when I look back at your career, I thought a lot about my career. I had the opportunity to work for Rolling Weeks at the Sun Herald early in my career. I actually started as an intern and sort of never left there, and went on to finish my degree at night, and then got my MBA at night and became publisher there in 2001. And in the meantime, went to work for Knight Ridder, did a lot of work for Knight Ridder along the way. And that's the company that owns the Sun Herald. But Rolling really believed in leadership development. And when I look back at your career, you obviously did the master's program for the Gulf Coast Business Council. You've been involved in leadership Gulf Coast. What I was really impressed with actually is that you spent some time at MGM, Mirage, of course, Beau Rivage, and an executive management development program as well that gave you a great opportunity to see how the company works. And I want to kind of go through all of that. It's just, you're also a recent One Coast recipient, and I'm not surprised by that at all because your commitment to the community is so significant. But so let's start from the beginning. Tell me about growing up. What were some of the big influences on you growing up?
So I grew up in Escatawba, Mississippi. A lot of people can't say that as well, but located in Jackson County, just north of Moss Point. Spent a lot of time with my grandmother. She was a big influence in my life, and I want to say I was never really a kid. I liked to hang out with the adults and pay attention to what they were saying, and they helped shape and guide me along the way.
That's really cool. Actually, I worked in purchasing at Mississippi Power Company in 1979, 1980, somewhere in that range, when I was going to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, and we'll come back to that in a second. But anyway, they were building Plant Daniel over in Escatawba at the time, and I didn't even know where Escatawba was, but the building of Plant Daniels for Mississippi Power Company really put that city on the map, didn't it?
Yes, it did that. And of course, a lot of people know Moss Point for the paper mill. So that really was a shift north of Moss Point to form Escatawba with the paper mill days.
So, okay. So then tell me about where you went to school and your educational path.
So I was in the fun class where Pascagoula High School and Gaucher High School split. So our senior year, we went to Gaucher High School before it was Gaucher High School and graduated. I was actually the first senior class president for Gaucher High School, which was exciting. And then by the end, when we graduated, the building was finished. So we did get to see the building.
Yeah, good.
And, went from there to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, where I majored in marketing and business and loved my time at Gulf Coast Community College, which eventually led for me to circle around back to education.
Yeah. I talk about Gulf Coast Community College all the time on the show. I have representatives from there every chance I get. The role that first of all, the community college system in Mississippi is one of the strongest in the United States, and Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College is one of the strongest in Mississippi, if not the strongest. The opportunities that we have to create incredible educational opportunities for people, not just those who might go off to a four-year university, but those who might be involved in job training of some sort. But the college has done a great job of working with business and industry, their partners, to make sure that they're addressing the current needs in the workforce area, and it's had tremendous success. I went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College myself, and it really prepared me well for my education. And you have the same story to tell, don't you?
Yes, same story. You spoke about my career with MGM Mirage. It was actually through a guest speaker from the Beau Rivage when they were getting ready to open, who came and spoke at my class at the community college and painted the glamorous picture that was the Beau Rivage at the time. And I thought, I want to be a part of that. So started there shortly after opening through the person who spoke to our class.
See, you never know. Life's a lot serendipity, who you meet, the influences they have on you. Hopefully I often say on the show that too many people surround themselves with negative people. If you will surround yourself with positive people who cause you to stretch, people who cause you to think about what your potential might be, there's literally a limitless journey that people can go on to achieve success. And they just have to get their head around that. But, you started at the Beau Rivage. And you were, it's interesting because I meant to mention that at Gaucher High, what became Gaucher High, you were the first class president. You had leadership in your blood from the very beginning, it's clear. And then you get to the Beau Rivage and you immediately get indoctrinated, or pretty quickly after getting there, get indoctrinated into this management program. I can see it from the YouTube and Facebook audience. You can see that you emanate such a positive presence about yourself. But you obviously made an impact on the people at the Beau Rivage. That time you spent there was really important to you, wasn't it?
It was. As soon as I heard about the management associate program that they offered, I knew that it was something I wanted to be a part of. And it really, when I started there, I found out about the program and found out you had to have a bachelor's degree to get into the program. So that really pushed me in the direction to get my bachelor's degree at William Carey, and so that I could get into the program. And it was an amazing program because you actually worked in every aspect of the property. So from a management perspective, you really learn to appreciate the person washing the dishes because you've been there and done that. Really learn to appreciate the housekeepers, everybody who helps support the property. And it really gave me a different perspective of not only my career, but life and what type of leader I wanted to be.
So what was the time frame you were at the Beau Rivage?
I was there for 10 years and spent majority of that time as a convention services manager, planning events. We, as you know, planned events for thousands and some very high profile individuals. And while I was there, actually planned a few events for Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. And that is how I ended up at the community college in their alumni and foundation role.
Yeah, I know when we had the Sun Herald Leadership Awards breakfast, which is now the One Coast Award, we had it at the Beau Rivage, packed it full of people. Man, it was so inspiring to see all of these people come together. That's still the case with the One Coast Awards for sure, as you well know. George Corchis was there during a lot of the time that you were there, and I've actually, every time I go over to the Rosemary Beach area, I eat at his amazing restaurants. Boy, has him and his family had this opportunity to build something special over there. Have you been over there to see what he's done there?
I have not. I have followed him and see that there are wonderful reviews on his restaurants, and I keep saying I'm going to make it over there.
Well, yeah, my daughter told me that they're going over during Thanksgiving, and they're going to go. You know, one of the kind of draws is first, it's just a cool place to visit, but one of the draws is the opportunity at Amici 30A, which is the Italian restaurant, and of course they have a Mexican restaurant as well right next door. But boy, had they created something special over there. That family is a really cool family. So Jenifer, you left the Beau Rivage, you went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, you eventually landed at Traditions campus as an advancement officer. We're going to talk more about what's happening these days at William Carey on the other side of the break, but just real briefly, what is an advancement officer?
So my role at William Carey as an advancement officer is primarily fundraising for the university and supporting our students in special projects. Also handle some of the public relations here on the Tradition campus. Of course, we have a bigger advancement office on our Hattiesburg campus, so I'm a support branch here on the coast.
That's cool. So when we come back with Jenifer Freridge, we're going to continue our conversation about what's happening at William Carey Tradition campus these days. See you after the break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Hey South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
It just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera slips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Jenifer Freridge, who is the advancement officer for the Tradition Campus at William Carey University. You know, it's interesting. Boy, does time fly. I remember when I was finishing up my degree, I actually took a class at William Carey on the coast. At the time, it was in the old GCMA building down there in Gulfport. And, of course, after Katrina, a big commitment was made by William Carey to build at Traditions. And, you know, the whole Traditions thing is really evolving tremendously there. And the commitment of all those involved in that is just incredible what that is. But William Carey made a big commitment to the coast, didn't they?
Yes, made the decision under great leadership to build at Tradition, of course, north of the interstate this time. As most of you know, the campus on the coast was destroyed by Katrina, and it has turned out to be wonderful, especially with the leadership of Governor Phil Bryant deeming this a medical corridor. Dr. Tommy King saw at that time that it would be important for us to focus on medical programs here on the Tradition campus.
Yeah, and now that on top of that, you have Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College and others that are making financial commitments to that area. You got the VA from Mississippi doing their thing up there. I mean, it's becoming very significant what's happening up there. Look, I have a place up in the Mississippi Delta, so I'm driving past there all the time. And, you know, there's life there. You know, it took a while. I mean, after Katrina, as publisher of the Sun Herald and knowing the way things were sort of challenging on the coast, I expected it to grow faster. but it takes time. It takes time. You know, the residential part of it continued to grow. You saw pretty early on William Carey made the commitment they made, and the others have followed since then. But it's incredible what Joe Cannizzaro sort of envisioned. And sometimes, you know, planning, which is essentially a city, planning what is essentially a city is something that takes the art of the long view. You're not going to get instant gratification. It takes time. But traditions really, that whole campus has really emerged, hasn't it?
Yes, and like you said, the planning and the things that are in the works are just amazing for this area. And the Gulf Coast continues to reach a few setbacks, but here at Tradition, we have reached record enrollment with the addition of our pharmacy school, which was the first professional program here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So students can go to our pharmacy school for 2 years and 10 months and receive their Doctor of Pharmacy degree.
That is incredible. I mean, really, I don't think people realize the impact that William Carey is making. So the traditional student that goes to William Carey, what paths are they taking? Some are just laying basic core foundations, and others have very specific approaches. But if you have an area of specialty, what would it be?
So the areas that we're seeing the most growth in are, of course, like I said, the School of Pharmacy, which is new and exciting. We graduated our first class this summer and enrolled our what will be our fourth class this summer. Education is certainly on the rise. We are partnering throughout the state to help combat the teacher shortage. So we've seen a tremendous rise in our education majors. And as we all know, nursing is greatly needed right now. Those are our top 3 programs here that we see most people come to. And in the past, our students were traditional night students. I know it's called traditional, but we were sort of a non-tradition campus, mostly night students. So with the addition of pharmacy and more nursing programs, we do have a pretty big daytime population now.
It's interesting, though. It's interesting to go there now and see. I mean, it's just a thriving university campus now, isn't it?
Yes, and I get so tired of going to meetings and hearing people say, we need a 4-year university on the Gulf Coast. And I just want to say, we're here. We're here.
We're here, and you have great relationships, for example, with Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. And there's so much working together for the betterment of education that we can accomplish here on the coast, isn't it?
It is, and we often hear, well, doesn't having Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College next door affect you? And I'm like, absolutely, it affects us to the positive because students can start there and finish here. So it's a direct pipeline to help students receive their graduate degrees and some who come here for the RN program as well.
Yeah, wow, that's so cool. I mean, let's just specifically as it relates to the RN program, it is a really good program, isn't it?
It is, and we offer starting at RN all the way to a PhD in nursing education. Our MSN program is growing as well. So before coming to work here, I did not realize there were so many layers to nursing, but just like any other degree, they go all the way to a PhD.
And with the shortage in nursing now, I'll have Lee Bond, the executive administrator from Singing River Health Systems, back on probably next week just to talk more about efforts to focus on the incredible shortage that's been revealed as a result of the pandemic. And just because the pandemic for the time being is starting to wane, the nursing shortage has not gone away. Anyway, Jenifer Freridge, it's been a terrific time to share with you this morning or to hear your story. Congratulations on your One Coast Award. And again, we'll have you back soon to talk more deeply about the things that are happening at William Carey. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. See you soon.
You bet. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.